Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us today on our Thursday edition of the Burning Issue here on the Happy Word of 5 FM radio on 89.9 in Lusaka and the surrounding areas. Remember, we are also live on our Facebook page. Look out for it, like it, share it. It's 5 FM Radio Zambia, and also our YouTube channel, 5 FM Zambia as well. And not forgetting that we are also live on our partner radio stations. We are live on Katete FM on 103.3 in Katete, covering the rest of Eastern Province. We are grateful for that. We are also live in Central Province and in Kabwe, to be precise, on Spice FM on 91.1 FM and ZFM on 100.3 FM in Kapiri, and equally covering the Central Province. And of course, Copper Belt is well taken care of. We are live on iWave FM radio in Chingola on 90.1 FM, and also live in Indola on Platinum Radio on 99.7. We are also live on Muchinga Radio on 88.1, that is in Chinsali, covering the rest of Muchinga province. And also, last but not the least, live on Tuta FM in Mansa on 90.7 FM, and of course, covering the rest of Luapula province. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue. I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Today, we are privileged to host the People's Alliance for Change in the studio to discuss with us a lot of issues, especially we will equally be getting his views and opinion on the address to Parliament during the 13th session, the opening of 13th session of Parliament by His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema. Mr. Banda, welcome to the program. Good to have you.
Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you to all the listeners that have tuned in. Thank you to 5 FM. We're grateful to be here, to be hosted by yourself, and we look forward to an interesting discussion.
Absolutely. Now, you are coming straight from what I would call a successful convention. First of all, it's a tall order to put up a convention. And it's at this convention that you were again re-elected party president and the presidential candidate for 2026 general elections. Just bring us up to speed how it went.
Well, the convention was quite successful. As you may be aware, this was our second convention. PAC, the People's Alliance for Change, was launched on 10th January 2016. And obviously, we have participated in two general elections, that is 2016 and 2021. We have been in a number of by-elections across the country. So we held our first convention in 2021 around May, just before the elections. But this time, because of we want to prepare adequately to the 2026 elections, we decided to hold the convention earlier. That is in September, on the 4th of September 2025. So it was quite successful. We had our leaders from across the country, from all the 10 provinces of this country, who convened to ratify certain decisions, including to give us a fresh mandate to continue leading the party for the next 5 years. We also amended our constitution, just to reflect the current dynamics of our politics and also the current needs of the party. So it was quite a success, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our leaders who came through to the convention. I'd like to thank the media for covering the convention. It was widely covered, and everyone who supported us. Thank you very much.
Now, why did you choose to have the convention this early?
Because we want to prepare in advance for 2026. It was also a launch for 2026 activities for the party. I think what our plan really for 2026 is not really to go like we've been in the past elections. We want to make sure that we effectively, participate, effectively be visible, and make sure that we give you know, the UPND a competition, or rather we give the Zambian people an alternative that you know, they need for 2026 and after that.
Mm. Now, you have just talked about the reasons. One of the reasons you've mentioned about why you chose to have the convention this early is to put in place mobilization activities. What exactly are you intending to do to ensure that you mobilize enough members that will definitely give you the much needed support?
I think what we need to understand is that you know, politics is about profiling. I know a lot of people want to come into politics and win the next elections. I don't think it's as easy as most people make it look or think it is, especially those that have not been in the game. For us, we've been around for 10 years, and we've been growing steadily. And you know, the dynamics of where we started from and where we are today are different. You must remember that Park was participating and busy competing, you know, with the UPND and the PF. When the PF was in power and the UPND was in opposition, we were coming out number three in a number of by-elections, you know, prior to 2021. So the dynamics have changed right now. I think largely people are looking for an alternative. So we want to make sure that, you know, we build, you know, from where we're coming from, and ensure that we invite as many people as possible to come on board and join the party. So we have a clear mandate. We've given a clear mandate to our, you know, leaders across the country to make sure that, you know, this time around they need to get the right people to work with, people that are hardworking, and also to recruit, you know, the right minds and the right leaders, so that we can get to each and every corner of this country, each ward, you know, each constituency, each district, and each province, and so that, yeah.
Yeah. Why would you call yourself alternative when the ruling party keeps claiming they have delivered 90% of their promises and more, I guess?
I believe that there is some level of misunderstanding, you know, from the ruling party when we speak about delivering, because if people are still developing poverty across the country, you know, and you know, the economy is hard, there's no money in circulation, and you say you've delivered, then it means that probably you did not really understand the assignment of what you came to do. Because Zach, I can tell you that when I'm elected president in 2026, I'm going to make sure that I do one, two, three, four things. Those can be things that are in my head, but will those things have an impact on the masses? So if I say, you know, when I become president, I'm going to build a power station for 10 megawatts, you know, I'm going to build one school, I'm going to build one clinic, I'm going to employ 100 doctors, and once I tick this box and said I've delivered 90%, it means probably I did not understand what I came to do, because that will not have any impact on the masses. If we build a power station for 10 megawatts, how is that going to help us, you know, sort out the energy crisis? If I employ 100 doctors, how is that going to help the country? So there could be a misunderstanding, you know, on what they came to do, and that's why they say, you know what, we've delivered 80%. I was reading in the paper, I won't mention, one of the ministers was saying we've delivered 80%. You know, they said we've delivered 90%. What is 90%? The question is, we should be asking ourselves, what is 90%? So the reason why we are the alternative and Andyford Mayele Banda, people must actually vote for Andyford Mayele Banda in 2026, is because we believe that we understand the assignment. We understand the assignment. We understand what this country needs, you know, for it to move to the next level. And that's the reason why we believe that we are the alternative.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Park being an alternative, first of all, let's look back. I know you've mentioned a couple of them, but I would like you to probably indicate sector by sector what you think the UPND has failed to deliver, especially now that we can look back and say they have actually been in power for 4 years.
I think for us it's simple. What we need to really look at is two things: there's a governance system and there's economic system. Okay, the governance system. There is no demonstration from the UPND that they have brought about reforms that this country needs, and those reforms pertains to how a government should be run. The question is that, has the UPND, demonstrated that most of the people that are in government are people that, are appointed based on merit? There's a question about that. You know, there's been complaints about, nepotism, and political affiliations and all those kind of things. So one of the things that a country needs to do, if they really want to move to the next level, is to ensure, that they actually bring about real reforms. How do you appoint people in government? As the first thing. The next thing is that there has to be institutional reforms. Yes, there could be need. In fact, there is actually need to actually look at our constitution, so that we can redefine this constitution. This constitution cannot be, a document that is centered on an individual. The constitution must be a document that affects the whole country. Now, in trying to refine the constitution which affects institutions, what kind of a process needs to be followed to actually ensure that we have a people-driven constitution? We are not talking about the Bill 7. We are talking about real constitutional reforms. That once we do this constitution, all stakeholders are inclusive, they're on the table, and we come up with a document that will last the test of time. Because 2016, we had constitution, we enacted a new constitution. In 2019, 2020, there we were talking about Bill 10. Now we're talking about Bill 7. We are just going around the circles on the same thing. And the problem has been the processes of how to do these things. Now, when when the PF was in power and they were pushing for the Bill 10, I'm one of the people that actually, was approached by President Hakainde Hichilema to say, let's work together as opposition to come up with a good constitution. We and the UPND and the other opposition were not part of that constitutional amendment because we did not agree with the process that the PF wanted to apply in amending the constitution. So it is so shocking that the UPND, who could have won the elections because people were disgruntled, they were disgruntled of the process that the PF wanted to use to implement the constitution, are actually coming back with the same tactics where they don't want to actually, involve the masses. They don't want to involve all the stakeholders. They sit wherever they sit, whether it's at the Ministry of Justice, whether it is at State House or whatever. They sit and draft, things that they think that needs to be changed. A constitution is a national document. A constitution is a document that needs the input of all stakeholders. Now, the question we need to be asking ourselves is that if the UPND were, for example, going to succeed with Bill 7, and then they lost election, are you telling me that when PAC forms government after 2026, they will not go back and start revisiting the constitution? They'll definitely do that because the process was not properly followed. So, and with the UPND, it's not just the Bill 7. We have other bills such as, the land bill, the NGO bill, and many others. They managed to pass a cybersecurity law, although even it had been pushed out of parliament for consultation. But those consultations, they didn't mean anything. The same things that people were against were implemented and it was enacted as law. and people are in jail. People are going to courts over the cybersecurity. So, like I said, Zach, governance is a critical aspect of um, an economy. You cannot separate governance from the economy. How your judiciary operates, how the government operates. It's a critical aspect to grow the economy. And on that score, I can tell you that the UPND have failed lamentably. Even all these bills that have been trying to push, to Parliament, they have not consulted anyone. So we have to come up with a government that is going to be inclusive and consultative with the stakeholders. And we're not just talking about stakeholders like political parties, civil society organization, the church. We're talking about the Zambian people. Then on the other hand, I listened to President HH, giving a speech to Parliament and talking about how numbers don't lie. This has grown. We've increased this. We've increased
Yeah.
that.
And that address has been described as progressive. Do you agree? If not, why not?
Well, I mean, it is progressive, but we should not. I mean, there are progressive issues. For example, the country for once. They managed to produce. Coming from the drought last year, it's commendable of government. To have put in initiatives to make sure that we produce 3.7 million tons of maize, metric tons of maize. That is quite progressive. There are a number of other increments and stuff like that. But the question is that these incremental things, are they equivalent to the needs of the country? That's a question we should be asking ourselves.
What are the needs of the country?
For example, if you're going to employ 2,000 additional workers at Mopani copper mines, like the president addressed, how many people needs to be employed, across? He mentioned that 12,000 jobs were added, in the agriculture sector. The question is that how many more jobs need to be created? So the needs of the country, just talking about job creation, despite the UPND having said, no, we've employed 40,000, 50,000 people in the civil service and stuff, we actually need to employ 400,000 people per year, or 500,000, 500,000, as things stand. This is a report from the World Bank, and that is the fact of the matter. The World Bank reported that we need to create 10 million jobs in the next 25 years, right? So if you divide that, you find that you have to create about 400,000 jobs. But that does not include, the many young people out there that are not employed. That does not include the many young people out there that are employed, in the workspace, that doesn't give them decent wage or decent working conditions. So ideally, we could be talking about wanting to employ about 2.5 million, people. Now, to give them a decent wage and the right workspace. Right? So now, if you're going to be talking about employing 50,000 in 4 years, 60,000, 5,000, is that what the country needs? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. Now, if that is not what the country needs, is that what we need to do? Earlier, Zach, we spoke about the UPND talking about, achieving 80% of what they came to do. The question is that what are the poverty levels at the moment in Zambia? And realistically speaking, can you actually eradicate poverty in 4 years? You can't. So that's why I said, maybe there's lack of understanding of the assignment of what they need to do.
So you do justify that they could not eradicate poverty because the period of time is too short.
If you cannot eradicate poverty in 4 years, but you can put systems to start eradicating poverty. Okay? But now, if you know that the time that you got into government 3 years ago, according to the Zambia Statistics Agency, the poverty levels were at 60%, overall, 78% rural poverty. Okay? Then you cannot say that you've achieved 80% of what you came to do. Maybe you didn't understand what you came to do. Because the truth of the matter is that I was asking myself as I was listening to the president to say, let's say that you you um you produce 3.7 million tons. I think one of the things that we need to understand is, yes, numbers are good, but who is producing the 3.7 million tons? How many peasant farmers are producing that? How many rural farmers, small scale farmers are producing it's 3.7 million tons? Is it the commercial farmers? Because whatever increment or figures that you want to report to the nations, they must have a corresponding effect on the masses. Rural poverty is at almost 80% right now. We need to actually go back and say, what, probably there's something that we're not doing right somewhere there. You get the point? Because if commercial farmers are going to produce much of this maize, people who are already rich and wealthy, then there's no need for us to be proud of these numbers, because the poverty levels are still out there. If we are going to say no, we have increased the production of copper from 700,000 to about 850,000 metric tons, and yet everyone who is producing that copper is a foreigner. Well, it's good that the mines are moving, but we're not addressing the issue of why poverty keeps increasing. What we need to do is that we need to actually sit back and ask ourselves, why is poverty going up? You must remember that from the last 100 years, from the colonial times, there's been demand for copper. There's been incremental production of copper, but poverty has not gone away. Because why? The economic structure, the way it is. You cannot just address people and say, no, the artisanal mining licenses, we've left it for the locals. Is that the language that you can use, for example, in Nigeria, where the Nigerians themselves have a significant role in the operations of their country? The richest black man in the history of this Africa is a Nigerian. I mean, the richest black man at the moment is a Nigerian. And where are his investments? In Nigeria and across Africa. If you go into the banking and financial services sector in Nigeria, it's run by Nigerians. If you go into the telecoms, yes, they've got investors, but Nigerians are heavily involved. If you go into the oil, which is probably the economic mainstay of Nigeria, Nigerians are involved. Dangote has got a refinery there. So why do you want in Zambia, to say, what, for the big mines, let's leave them for the foreigners. For the small artisanal, let's give them to the locals. We are not dealing with the issues that we need to deal with. We are not. We need to understand that the populations of this country are growing. And as a result, the needs are becoming more and more. So for the more we let this country be run by foreign investors, the more we are not going to sort out the problems that we're supposed to sort out. We need to break a system that was imposed in Africa by the colonialists, where Africa was made as a provider of raw materials and a consumer of finished goods. And this is what is happening, whether it's in the mining sector, whether it is everywhere. We don't own anything. We cannot develop a country based on taxes. The focus of the UPND government is bring in more investments so that we can collect taxes and develop the country. The country can't develop on taxes. The country can only develop on profits. Now, who owns the profits of this country? It's the foreign companies, foreign interests. Those are the ones that own the profit. So when they make the profit, is the profit staying here? The profit is not staying here. The profit is repatriated. They go and develop their countries. And yet our government is waiting to collect taxes, so that they can invest in the health sector, in the agriculture sector, I mean, in the education, agriculture. There's not enough money there. But once Zambians start playing a key role in the economy, that's when we're going to start seeing change. Because the Zambians are going to make the profit and they'll invest the profit in their own country. And when we talk about Zambians having a significant guaranteed role in the economy, we're not just talking about them, 400 mine suppliers supplied what? No. We need to position our people to run the mines, the big mines. They are capable. This is not 1964 where people were not educated, exposed, or didn't have experience. It's 60 years for God's sake. Our people have even worked in mines in Australia, in Canada, in Peru, everywhere. They are capable of running these mines. But have we built a platform for them to start getting involved in green fields? Have we built a platform for our people to start running banks? Have you built a platform for our people to have a significant role to play in the manufacturing? So the only way that we can catch up with that job number, the requirement to actually employ about 400,000 people, 500,000 people in a year, is by restructuring our economy. And automatically, yes, the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema can say, no, the economy has been growing, but economies have been growing. They've been growing. I mean, from 1964 up to now, the economies have been growing. Automatically, maize production has to grow because there are more people now to do maize production than there were before, So the economy has to grow because, the economic activities have to grow. As populations are growing, economic activities are growing, as technology is coming. So we feel that the performance of the UPN is based on autopilot, kind of managing things, but things have to grow. They will grow. If there are 10 planes that were landing, because the population has grown, there'll be 20. So there are those automatic growth that, as a government, you can't be saying, no, what we need, to change things is to to have a revolution of the economy. We need to change things. We need to own things. We need Zambians to play a role in this economy. You can say the GDP is growing, but who is the GDP? Is it the Zambians? You can say, no, the economy grew by 3%, what? Who exactly is enjoying that 3%? Is it the Zambians? It's not the Zambians. So that's our assessment to say, as PAC, we want to make sure that once we come into government, we start
revolutionize.
The economy.
Yeah.
For example, Zach, why should foreigners be selling second-hand vehicles in this country? We're not trying to be xenophobic here. We're trying to, that's why we have countries. Everyone comes from a certain country, and each and every country protects, the interests of their people. We can't just let things, oh no, Zambians are nice and stuff. Why should foreigners be selling second-hand vehicles in this country? Why should foreigners be cleaning offices in this country? Why should foreigners be making blocks in this country? Why should foreigners be running travel agencies? So we can name a number of these things, and these are things that I can assure you, Zach, that once I, as Andyford Banda, is elected in 2026, we'll have to put in laws that will restrict a lot of sectors for the locals. We shall put in a local content law that is going to give thresholds of what sector a foreign entity can participate and at what level. It is the only way that we can sort out our economy.
This is the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue. My guest is Andyford Mayele Banda. He is People's Alliance for Change PAC president. And recently he was re-elected as party president and, of course, presidential candidate if things don't change. for
They won't
2026.
change.
For 2026. Now, the Minister of Finance will soon be presenting the 2026 national budget. And I think that um, this budget will speak to a lot of things. What are your expectations really? Because in it, people are expecting to see a budget that gives the UPND some sort of summary of their term, of their first term, and people will be looking for um, energy crisis remedies in that, and more. What are your expectations as PAC?
Well, we don't expect much from the budget, to be honest. I mean, we first of all would like to wish the Minister of Finance all the best as he presents his last budget, um, because obviously next year we're going to elections.
Well, you mean his last for this year, right?
No, his last budget. Well, Zach, budgets have been presented, and half of the budget is financed by well wishers and donors. That speaks to the fact that there's something wrong with what we're doing. The government cannot afford to actually finance activities as we speak. And that's the reason why you've seen the Minister of Finance, raising taxes. No, everyone must pay tax, which is a good thing. But is that the only way that, we are going to do things? Trust me, Zach, what we need as a country are policies that are going to guarantee Zambians a role in the economy. These budgets, this year we had a supplementary budget, and most likely we'll have another one next year. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not expecting much. How many times a budget presented? No, so much money has been allocated to agriculture sector. Has there been enough money? So much money is going to education sector. Has it been enough? So much money. Of course, what we expect in this year's budget is programs that will make the UPND get busy, especially as we are going to the elections. That is a given. That's what they're going to do. Anything that will give money to the people on the ground is what we expect in this budget. But is that sustainable? It's not sustainable.
When you say anything that will give money to the ground, what exactly are you anticipating in that direction?
For example, you see more programs such as Cash for Work, because that money goes directly into people's pockets. You see more money, in the social cash transfer. You see more money, allocated to, such programs, which, affects the voters directly. That's what I'm saying.
But we are questioning its sustainability. Others have called it ridiculous.
What do you mean ridiculous?
In terms of Cash for Work, for example, because that's not what you call real empowerment. Also, yes, that it is selective.
But that's what I'm saying, that it's not sustainable. And when I spoke earlier, I mentioned that there are people like those ones that are doing Cash for Work. Can you call that work? These are political programs that try to paint the good picture of the ruling party. And this is not how you run a country. People need real jobs that will give them an opportunity to walk into a bank and say, you know what?
How do you create those jobs? As PAC, how do you create real jobs? Because also, the government, much as it is creating jobs, it's merely increasing its budget, its payroll, and it may not be sustainable as well, especially that the government equally has to pay debt on the other side. So how then do you create real jobs?
So I was saying that people need real jobs. People need real jobs. A job that can give someone an opportunity to walk into a bank and say, I want to get a loan. The people that are doing Cash for Work, cannot go into a bank and say, I want to get a loan. And this is part of the statistics I was telling you to the outside. People that are just not doing anything right now. There are people that are working, but with low wage or poor conditions. People that need to be employed as well. They need to get real jobs. Now, I'm coming to your question, say, how do you create new jobs? The best way to create new jobs is to create an environment where the local people, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, are thriving. Okay? Because once money is circulated locally, it will have a ripple effect on other businesses. If a lot of people, for example, are able to buy, just as a simple example, mini meal, it means that the producer of mini meal will have to produce more. And for them to produce more, they'll need more people in production. And when they have more people in production, those people will need to open bank accounts, because that company wants to pay people, through the bank. And when more people are opening bank accounts, the banks will need to employ more people to attend to those people. And then when their jobs are sustainable, the bank will also need to give loans. So they'll need to employ more people to actually give loans to those people. So the best way to create jobs is to ensure that we protect the local economy for the people. This happens. For example, Zach, back in the days, when you buy a car and it comes through Durban Port in South Africa, you'd be allowed to drive, in South Africa all the way to Zambia. A Japanese vehicle, right?
Yeah.
But what the South African government noticed was that some of those vehicles, in as much as they did not allow these Japanese vehicles to come, in fact, to start with, they don't allow Japanese vehicles in South Africa. Second out Japanese vehicles. Why? It's because they have to protect the economy. They have to protect the local, motor industry. The moment they start bringing the second hands, they're killing the motor industry in there. You getting me, right? So in the past, they would allow you to drive your car, from Durban all the way to Lusaka. Now they don't allow you to drive the car. You have to put it on a carrier and maybe pick it in Botswana or Zimbabwe or somewhere there, or even just let it come to Zambia. Why do they do that? Because they want to protect the local industry. In China, you won't find things like Facebook. You have to have a VPN for you to log into Facebook. You won't find things like, WhatsApp or something like that, because they've got their own platforms there. Why do they restrict? It's because they have to protect the local industry. The question is that what have you done in this country to protect the local industry? And why is the local industry so critical? Because the profits have to stay within. The moment Facebook is going to go to China, Mark Zuckerberg has tried to do these trips to China, trying to get licenses there. He's failed. So what we need in this country is to protect our own. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, if it's not last year, the other year, we saw our local company, Ulendo, being liquidated because it was not protected against Yango, which is a foreign company with so much capital. So if we had restricted the operations of Yango, we would have grown Ulendo, because Ulendo was local. Block making today, it's run by foreign companies from Turkey or across. These are areas where we need to restrict people from getting involved. A few weeks ago or months ago, a guy, I always forget his name, and apologies. The president of the Cleaning Association of Zambia was arrested for condemning, I think, one of the paracetamol companies giving a cleaning contract to a foreign company. And then the government arrests that person. What kind of thinking is that? So, how to create sustainable jobs is to make sure that we protect the economy for local people. That's how we're going to create these jobs quickly, because those profits from cleaning, from block making, from online taxi like Ulendo, which are being taken out from the mining sector, and many other companies from second-hand sales are not going to go away. They'll be staying here. Our people are the ones that are going to be making that money. And when our people are investing that money locally, the grocery stores, fuel, whatever, they'll go up. And that's how you create jobs. That's the quickest way to create jobs. So that's why our slogan for 2026 as PAC is that this time, it's time for Zambia. I don't think we need to apologize to anyone that we want to now start protecting our economy. If we say that no foreign company must sell second-hand cars in this country, it should be like that. We shouldn't apologize to anyone. They should pack and go, because we're killing ourselves. We're killing our economy. So the way to create jobs is to make sure that we start protecting the industry. We are going into a phase of energy transition where copper prices are going to be high. Copper demand will be high. I was listening to the president. There is no strategy to take advantage of that to actually ensure that now Zambians should get into the game of running big mines, because there'll be demand for copper. Just that demand is capital for us. We'll say, no, but we don't have capital. No, but people will be looking for copper. They will need it. So we need a strategy around that, so that for once, we should start reversing and resetting our economy into ensuring, that the local people participate. And that is what we are going to do as PAC once we form government next year. We want the local people to participate in the economy. And there's nothing rocket science. Of course, there'll be other reforms that will be needed for this to happen. We need to reform the banking and financial services sector so that it is responsive to the policies that we implement. We have to talk to the banks. The banks cannot just be lending money to government. They need to start lending money to the SMEs. But the SME environment is so hostile right now because they're not protected. That's why they fail to pay back their loans. If the SME environment was friendly to the local people, it would be easy for the banks to operate in that space. So what we need to do to ensure that more and more SMEs, local SMEs, access financing is by protecting them. It happens world over. We can't just be talking about FDI, a foreign direct investment, and no. What has FDI done in the last 60 years since independence? Nothing. Right now, it's time for Zambia. It's time to get the Zambians, to have, a significant role to play in the economy. That's what we're going to do. And once we do that, we'll create jobs.
This is the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio, but we are also live on our partner radio stations, namely Katete FM on 103.3 in Katete, covering the rest of Eastern Province. Also live in Kabwe on Spice FM 91.1 and covering Central Province. Same as ZFM in Kapiri on 100.3 FM, and also Copper Belt is well covered and we are live in Indola, to be precise, on Platinum FM, and Platinum Radio is on 99.7. And don't forget iWave FM as well in Chingola on 90.1, and Mansa, Luapula Province Luapula Province is covered, and to be precise, Mansa is host to Tuta FM. We are live on that, and that is on 90.7 FM, and Mchinga Radio as well on 88.1 in Chinsali, covering the rest of Mchinga Province. My guest once again is Andyford Mayele Banda. He is People's Alliance for Change PAC President, and we'll be taking your calls on 0955 221515 for your participation very soon. And also leave us a comment on our Facebook page, and that's 5FM Radio Zambia. All right. So at this point, allow me to start taking calls so that then our listener can interact with you. And so let's do this. Good morning.
Good morning, Wazaki.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm free from Yavena Mwanga, calling from Copper Belt. Mr. Andyford Mayele Banda, good morning.
Good morning. Atibana Nishna?
Humphrey from Yavena Mwanga, calling from Copper Belt.
Humphrey.
Okay, Mr. Humphrey, from Yavena Mwanga.
Yes, please.
Banda, Efumulanda, Fint Mweskankalanganshi. Ngamwalolesha pali yo intumwachi salanda pali cash for work, ifere chitika kuno Copper Belt. Yo cash for work, vale chita select awa muchipani cha UPND, vale chita benefit, veka, ero kuisa kuma CDF loan grant, loan, vale pela fe, va UPND cadres, vale chita benefit. Ero pali fionze fintu mwalanda va Andyford Banda. Murela nde fintu mwefi ya manungashi. Eto ninga mikosele shako fechako ebati. Work together with Tonse Allaince. Ero mungesa kwanisha. Nombanga mwawafe kwa tiwa opposition mwasalangana. Uyu, wakala wa mrefu wa veminine, na imo mrefu wa mwiminine, wa bini wa mpundu wa refu wa veminine, iyo mkapera chansi wa UPND nishwaka pita. So, ikataneni pamu wa opposition, nge fifo fwe wantu ikateni pa ground. Ero tungesa chinsi yako fyo kuisa afunyapo abantu. Pali inoishita, ichirwani tukwete, inkala mwire ikata abana. Ilise imo, nombanga mwasalangana, iyo chansi mkapera wa UPND. Muleti poshani wa Andyford Banda, muliredi okwewa tuwawombera pamo na wa opposition apalinga wa Tonse Allaince. Equation yonde pusha wa Andyford Banda. Latotela wazaki.
Natasha Mkwai. And we'll take some more on 0955 221515. That is the line that you're calling us on if you'd like to participate on the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue. And let's see if we can have this one. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning. Thank you. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Godfrey, calling from Allaince.
Your name again?
My name is Godfrey.
Godfrey.
Calling from Allaince.
Yes, Godfrey. Please go ahead.
Morning, Mr. Banda.
Morning, Mr. Godfrey.
I don't know, what advising issue. Mr. Banda, the same way you have come out very nice. If I remember some good 7 years ago, that's how the current one, this is used to say. But unfortunately, immediately after taking power, all his ideas left. We want to give you the trust that we do guarantee us that we want to do the same thing.
Thank you. Is that all?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you, Godfrey, for your call. We'll take some more on 0955 221515. That's the number you're calling us on. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you for calling. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you very much. Talking to Lukulu Voice on the line here.
Lukulu Voice, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. How are you, the party president, Mayele Banda?
I'm okay, Mr. Lukulu Voice. How are you yourself?
I'm very right. I'm okay. Coming to the issue, first and foremost, I'll still urge you, Mr. Banda, that you have a chance to work with the government of the day for reasons that we need collective together to sort out the mercy which was left by the PF in the first place, I would like to tell you that if you know Western Province very well, there's the Katunda Lukulu Mumbeji Road. That road has been a campaign to all the government. Today, that road is now going to be worked on.
Mr. Lukulu voice, your line seems to be getting worse, unfortunately. Try and call us back. Lukulu voice, your line got bad halfway. Your contribution. We'll be looking forward to have you just to come and complete what your contribution was. Let's take another one. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Zach.
How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Great. Your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Winifred calling you from Lusaka.
Winfred.
Exactly.
Please go ahead.
Sure. Proceed. Allow me to greet your guest.
Indeed.
Wamaire Mulishan.
Bueno Mulishan wa Winfred. Kwa totera mkwe.
Sure. Mr. President, I think I'm one of those people who actually follow politics. Mr. Banda, you are someone who is civil, always you speak the facts. So for that one, I'm saying keep it up. That's how politics supposed to be. When you come to your submissions, I think you've alluded things exactly to what is actually going on the ground. From the look of things, I think UPN regime has lamentably failed to learn this country, Zambia. You know, these people, or rather this party, has actually come into power through their promises they've made. They've promised the Zambians to say, Milme will be at 50 kwacha, fertilizer will be 250. All sorts of things which they've promised the Zambians. I don't think maybe I'm standing to be corrected whether one or two has fulfilled so far. So, I do have a question before I end this submission. Sir, if you have given that, density by the Zambian people to come into power, are you also going to do the same things? You promise you 100 degrees against. Are you going to do so, Mayele? I think that's my question.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Winfred. Contrary to Clifford, or rather Cliff Siabona on Facebook, says, good morning. Those opposition should be serious because what this government has done within 4 years across the country, especially in the rural areas, through CDF and free education, it will be very difficult for opposition to get votes. Mark my words.
Thank you very much to all the callers, and thank you to the contributors on Facebook. I'll start with Mr. Humphrey Mfumuyabamwanga. I think Humphrey from the Copper Belt.
Yeah.
You see, Humphrey ngamachita for program mpo tuashambira. One of the things of Nachlanda, Chakwebati, the things we need to deal with is governance. Economy tetie pantanshinga governance system tairi correct. So when we talk about dealing with governance system, we want to deal nefintu fifi nefyo mulera ndokutira ba UPND cash for work bale sarafe ama members babo. It is a problem of governance where when a political party forms government, they want to feel that their members are more Zambians than the others, than the rest of the Zambians. First of all, when this country got independence and then subsequently we got our democracy, we we are given the rights, all of us as Zambians, to belong to whichever political party we want. It's not a crime. You can belong to any political party. And that doesn't mean that if you belong to PAC or PF, you cannot access government services. But that is what we have been given by successive governments. I mean, it's not just the UPND. We saw this in PF, we saw this in MMD, even in UNIP. So the problem why these things continue is because our governance system has not, been honestly reformed. Henceforth, as PAC, we believe that the impact of an economy, the governance system has got an impact on the economy. First thing that we'll do, we shall not wait for elections in 2026. We shall institute institutional reforms, including the constitution, a people-driven constitution, a constitution that is written by the people, for the people. That is what is going to sort out this issue where, people that do not belong to the ruling party are denied services, whether it's CDF or cash for work. It has to be criminalized. For Andyford Banda to be denied the contract because his opposition. I know that they'll tell you, but no, but yeah, what anyone can do. But it's not the truth. That's not what happens. So let's not lie to each other. Kuti tuwabomba n'abantu bambi. Yes, we can work with anyone, but we have to agree on how this country should move. We've been changing government and changing government. We are very much willing. I mean, we have demonstrated. We've even held discussions with the opposition, and we're still holding these discussions. But it's our focus in 2026. Yes, we have to get rid of the UPND, but okay, where do we take the country next? Because you might just remove them, then you bring another group of people that are going to actually do things worse. Let's not forget, it can even be worse. You might think that you're sorting out things, and you're making things worse. So, in as much as the people, yes, you have said the opposition kataneni, but also mukui katana, tuwebe nukutira ati, tupere na plan efe mukachita. Nga mwai katana, this is how you're going to run things. Not fya tukui katana fe tufumie, ukufumia, tulefa tubafumie. But mukui katana munefa kamwabana planning. Because the country cannot wait anymore. Utetitule chinja fyama government for the sake of changing. Because abanatu bapata, tulete kona bambi. Abanatu bapata, tulete kona bambi. It doesn't work like that. The population is growing. The solutions need to start being implemented immediately. Institutional reforms needs to be implemented immediately. So that is my answer. I hope it answers you, Humphrey. Godfrey, what is the guarantee that if once I'm elected president of Zambia, I will not go back to my promises? Let me say something. I think one thing that if we're Zambians, what we need to do, we need to scrutinize promises that politicians make. Sometimes politicians, they don't go against their promises. It's because they promise things they don't understand. They promise things that cannot be delivered. No mbama Zambians have not sambirira. So why can't we tapunzira tabambiri? Let's be scrutinizing these things. If someone tells you that I'm going to give you a bag of minimum at 50 kwacha, it's a lie. Just call it a lie. And I want to urge the media, the political analysts, to actually scrutinize these things for the sake of the masses. Because how can you actually promise that, you're going to minimum be at 50 kwacha just because you want to get a vote? Fertilizer over 250, when actually most of the raw materials are imported, and the government doesn't have money to subsidize. So for us, Godfrey, we're not going to lie to say we're going to do cheap things, we're going to do this and this and that. No. To start with, the problem that we've had in this country is because the mentality of cheaper. We need to get out of that mentality. It's because politicians take advantage of that. Because Zambians want cheap this, cheap that, cheap that. No, the issue is not about cheap. That's why you see that things don't change. The issue is about affordability. The question we should be asking and focusing ourselves in is how can we ensure that Zambians can afford minimum at 200 kwacha? If that's a cost, if the cost of minimum is 200 kwacha, like production and profit for the milling company is 200 kwacha, we should ask ourselves, Ingama Zambians, how can they afford? Of course, production of a lot of maize contributes to the cheapening of things. But also, we need to look at the production cost. People must pay at cost. Can the government subsidize these things? They can't. They don't have money. So we're not going to lie to you to say, no, we're going to give you cheap. No, us what we want to focus on is your side of affordability. We want Zambians to actually pay for electricity at the right price so that they can have power. Because if you're not paying for electricity at the right price, that's why you don't have power. I mean, outside other things, So we're not going to tell you, no, to I am a tariff increment, no, we're not going to lie to you like that. But what we are concerned on is how can you afford electricity at the right price? And one of the things I've said earlier, if you're following the program, we want to protect the economy for the locals so that the locals can make money, securate the money in the economy and, boost other businesses, then they can afford to buy these things at the right price. So we're not giving you fake promises. We're not going to tell you that, when I become president next year, in the morning, by 14, the dollar is going to appreciate. It doesn't work like that. There are fundamentals that we need to deal with. We need to deal with the governance system, corruption. Financial intelligence report tells you how much money goes out. Why does it allow that? We need to deal with all those things for us to actually see the kwacha appreciate. We need to export more. We also need to stop more dollars going out. That is what is going to help us. Okay? Balukuru voice. I think the best way for anyone to work with the government is for the government to build a platform for people to actually give their ideas. It's not just supporting a government because, we want to sustain their stay. No. The best, for example, as once PAC forms government, there will be a platform, there will be an institution that will be receiving ideas, whether it's from the opposition, from the private sector, from citizens, from anyone who just thinks that they've got an idea. As PAC, we want to come up with that institution that actually takes ideas, because a country cannot develop when ideas are not brought forward. So we want to make sure that we give an opportunity to many Zambians to actually bring ideas forward. And that is the best way of working on the government. Now, if you've got a government that, knows it all, they have not built systems that make sure that your ideas are taken care of or they're scrutinized and all that kind of. I mean, it shouldn't just be about, endorsing people and all. We want to make sure that if we decide, or once PAC governments, if an opposition decides to say, okay, I'm going to work with the PAC government, they should know that that is not just based on political mileage, but based on the ideas that they're bringing to the table. Winfred, thank you very much for your submission and for your compliment about how we do our politics. I think we've been consistent in our politics for the last 10 years. And what we have demonstrated to the people of Zambia is that we're just interested in taking this country to the right place. And this, we want to ask that the time has come now for people of Zambia to say, okay, what about PAC? How can we help PAC get into government so that we see that the things they've been talking about for the last 10 years are implemented? So by Winfred, you and everyone who's listening and supporting us, we want you to support us more so that come next year, we should form government and implement the things we've been talking about consistently for the last 10 years. Now, the same things I was talking with Bagotri to say, the promises and the reverse of promises is based on telling people things that you don't understand, telling people things that cannot happen. As PAC, we are not going to give you promises that cannot happen. What we want is things that can happen. We want the cleaning business to be run by Zambians 100%. We shall not allow foreigners to be doing cleaning in this country, in the cleaning business. We shall not allow foreigners to be making blocks in this country. We shall not allow foreigners to be, selling second-hand vehicles in this country. We shall not allow foreigners, to be running travel agencies. We shall make sure that Zambian starts playing a role in the mining sector, not in the artisanal, in the main mining sector, because of the opportunity we have as a country because of energy transition. That is our plan. And once we do that, once we restructure the economy and reset the economy, we're going to see money start circulating. But if we're going to let things as they are, we should expect more problems because the government will not collect enough taxes to develop this country. The only way that this country can develop is by ensuring that the people are given the power to play a role in the economy, in their economy. Clifford, thank you very much for your contribution. Well, I mean, if you've seen that the government has done so much, well, it's good for you. But like I said earlier, there could be lack of understanding of what too much is. As PAC, we believe that there has to be a revolution to the economy for things to change. Thank you.
We'll take some more calls. And of course, our guest is Andyford Mayele Banda, People's Alliance for Change, PAC president. And the number you're calling us on is 0955 221515. Let's see if we can get another caller. Good morning.
Yes. Morning. I'm sure I'll be very clear. Look, good voice here.
Yes, please. Thank you for coming back. Please proceed and be quick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to know that Banda, are you aware that there have been a lot of news since the UPND came into power?
There have been a lot of what?
News. Okay? News. Okay. Let me mention one. The free education was promised by the UPND government from grade 1 to grade 12. Is it happening? New. Secondly, peace in the market in this country, whereby we used to be hacked and chased by the PF. Nowadays, nothing such a thing is happening. It's another new. Another thing was the ambulances that are supposed to be supplied in 156 constituencies, 119 yesterday, saw them. Where we've seen that in all this government that have been before the UPND, another new. Another thing, the CDF police vehicles that you saw in all 156, you have seen that? Have you seen them before? It was promised new. Another thing was CDF, which was 1.6 under the TF. The UPND said we will increase it actually to 5 million. As we speak, it's on 36.1 million. Have you not seen that? Employment in civil servants. At a go, 30,000 teachers. Have you seen that before from 1964? Another new. Civil servants, almost 80,000 as we speak today. Another new. Agriculture. Have you seen that the floor price has been increased to the 300 quarter 120 under the TF, whereby not even helping the farmers to continue farming. The farmers were not going for farming. Today it's at 340, encouraging more people to go to venture into farming. Another new. We can go on and on. For you, that's nothing. I told you to work with the UPND in this way so that you can join. Working with the government of the day is not about only joining. It's about helping them with ideas, supporting them where they are doing fine, and advising them where they are not doing fine. So by so as opposition, because you become alternative government. That's what I meant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lukulu Voice, for your contribution this morning. Let's see if we can have some more on 0955 221515. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Zach. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you very much. And thank you for calling. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Prince Martins, calling you from Copper Belt.
Martin, you said?
Prince Martins.
Prince Martins, also calling from Copper Belt.
Prince Martin, where exactly on the Copper Belt?
in Chingora.
Ah, great. Please go ahead, Martin.
How are you, Mr. Banda?
I'm okay, Prince Martin Umwana Wamsungu.
Yes. Okay. The thing that I've discovered, the Mcharoches who Zambia Chako, in fact, Africa yonse Chako ebati amari does beso. Mulakwatida ama plans zichishinga asuma kwebati munafoku muna country yenu kita develop. But the fact is that ngamwaisa popachipuna ichalo kwati Zambia fe, in fact the entire Africa tashungurula na momwe maridazi bama countries mulyamu chitungurwa na abantu abamfyaro fin, especially America. Amiebati ishimpia to amipera mfile mwachitira mu ABCD, and you have to do exactly as you amieba. So chochi needs to paisha. If you think outside the government, kila moneka easy ukufibomba, but inga mwengira mu office, file samku chinja. Efyo mwana kunse, nefi avamukati, kila pusana. So pope nepa vera issue. Nampera example ine. Church yesu. Running about sponsor ma Americans. So youth coordinator alipo twale mbremata pali efa bambi kaponomba. I'm the youth coordinator. Na ingira mu office bunge. So impiyesho batumina ba America, it's hand to mouth. But whoever ishimpia kubonfya kuma youth camps. Ngamawonfya kuma youth camp yafine tapafe mwana chitira pofimbi. Futi next year bamtumina koka fandi kambi. If you're fin, so it's in if it is paisha. So ngamwaisa mu office mukasangati abare running a country badish banokuish baba America before that vota no kuvota uke sapo ni cheat. So it's in to paisha. Na totela mkoi.
Okay, Natasha, for that call from Prince Martin, let's take some more on 0955-221515. Good morning.
Morning, Uncle Zach. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And thank you as well. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
This is Chimpinde calling from within Lusaka.
Chimpinde.
Yes, President Andyford Banda. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chimpinde.
Yes, please. I've been following your discourse. You mentioned something about the systems. We're putting in place systems. Then I want to bring you to a point of neo-colonialism. When our former colonial masters were living, they created systems how to control our resources. And I've been following a lot of politicians. None of them, or none of you, talk about the systems that the colonial masters left so that we can have political independence, but we don't have economic independence. I'll cite one example. In Burkina Faso, France was benefiting from the uranium. Just like here in Zambia. We are talking about we are producing so many tons of copper. But you see, just producing many tons of copper is not what we want. What we want is the many tons of copper that we are producing to translate in our economic uplifting. And that's why I've started the issue of let's dismantle. All of you politicians, you need to realize this. Let's dismantle what our colonial masters left, that system to control our resources. Once we do that, you will see that you have enough money in our Zambian coffers to help our own children here in Africa and Zambia in particular. So that is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And of course, Mr. Chimpinde there. Let's see if we can squeeze in another one on 0955-221515. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Zach. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for calling. And please share your name and where you're calling us from.
So my name is Ruben Chisala from Saka West, Namarombe, Wat Chiranga Consoli.
Ruben Chisala.
Yes.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Banda, how are you?
Fine, and how are you, Mr. Chisala?
I'm fine. I'm sure the particular concern in Tomo, more as you Eastern region. There are a lot of political parties from one region. I'm sure Mr. Zach can help me. I'm thinking of 7 from one region. So I wanted to find out mulachimunako ekyo pamunga wa Eastern abampera kwanu example like Southern region. I'm sure there are two political parties, UPND and the Amdud. I don't know what a party call it. So all wama political parties from one region. Why chavera muri msangu nishi? Ko sana kwa matontonkano, but sumungo sho konka sana mwa politician. Mwapata the same language. Won't say namba ichilenga sana kuchirati. Okukwata ama political parties more than 7 one region. Epo na atrapo kuchira njipushenga kuti vantu clarify hapo.
Thank you very much for that. Allow me to take one more, and then you can respond. Let's take this one. Good morning.
Morning, how are you, Mr. Moderator?
I'm well, thank you very much for calling. Your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Philemon from Chiturika, Zambia.
Yes, Philemon.
Good morning, Mayele Banda.
Morning, Mr. Philemon.
And allow me to completely disagree with you for those sentiments you are floating there. You know, this country is coming from a bad economy. Don't pretend. And we have made strides. Whether you like it or not, we continue reminding you that we inherited a 2.8 negative economy. It's not a joke. You know, it's not a joke. That's why accolades, you know, are coming from international community. They are saying this country is headed for a better position. Come the end of this year, GDP growth will be 6 point whatever. If we had a president who was not careful, was not going to manage. So I'm urging you, my opposition, that this time the only phone issue that is giving us sleepless nights is energy sector. And already energy sector, a lot of projects are underway. Come the end of this year, first quarter 2026, shedding will be mitigated, will be reduced. You know, end of this year, maybe we can have not less than 1,000 megawatts that is going to be offloaded into the national grid. To your surprise, December, if we can produce 700 megawatts, 800 megawatts, I think your charging will be reduced. Going forward, you have nothing to say. What is needed now, where you see that the government is working, you have to appreciate, you have to congratulate. Where you see that the government is not working, you have to advise with civility, with respect. You know, this is what you want from the opposition. When we were in opposition, we could give solutions on how we are going to reduce a bag of mildew. Look, unprecedented bumper harvest. You know, you are talking of more than 400 metric tons. Now, if you are going to produce already seeds, if you are going to reduce fertilizer is going to be reduced. I'm telling you, we are going to hammer about 10 million metric tons, and Zambia will be a net exporter of grain. And
Thank you, Philemon. Thank you.
In conclusion, and exchange rate, you can see how the exchange rate is behaving now. You know, otherwise, opposition, you should just appreciate it. God bless you. We are listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Philemon. Let me see if I can take one more. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Zach.
Thank you very much for calling, and please share your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Andrew. Good morning, Mr. President Banda.
Good morning, Mr. Andrew.
Yeah, I just wanted to, before I make my quick contribution, I just wanted to correct a comrade. I've just forgotten the name. There was a comrade who said, who was talking about the that I just wanted to correct him. He said that the UPND promised free education from grade 1 to grade 12. I think that is not correct. The promise was free education from grade 1 to university. That is the correct position. So I thought that has to be corrected. The UPND promised free education actually from grade 1 to grade 12. And we must all remember that during PF, grade 1 to grade 7, it was already free. Actually, had introduced the necessary part, so it was already free. And then from grade 8 to grade 12, they reduced on the user fees. I think it was one they reduced to about 200 to 300 kwacha. So that correction has to be noted. And then lastly, my question is on the rule of law, Mr. Banda, on the rule of law. This is a country that should operate under our laws, under our statute. I'm just concerned. Recently, we have seen some consent judgment flying on social media concerning the PF parties of Mao Sampa and doing to agree on the handover of the PF to the rightful owners. But I think the one hiccup, I think the judge has not signed. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's from April. So, what is your comment on that one, President Banda? Is this what the rule of law should look like? Honestly, the concept judgment, both parties have agreed. It's just the issue of the judge signing on the concept judgment so that it can be effected. What is your comment on that one, President? Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, I'll allow you to respond. Quite a number of contributions so far made.
I think, in all fairness, I would like to start with Lukulu West, and I will also answer this question together with Mr. Philemon from Chiturika.
Right.
Because these seem like the UPND supporters who want to believe, that the UPND is doing exceptionally well. Like I mentioned, if the UPND says they've achieved a lot, there could be lack of understanding of the assignment. Maybe they think they have, but maybe they don't understand the assignment. Because, the assignment is bigger than what you're talking about. The country, when the UPND came into government, they found that the poverty levels was 60% overall, 78%, rural areas, I think 44 in urban areas, something like that. Now, to actually deal with these numbers and to ensure that people are able to receive, adequate services, and they're also, the economy is working for them, there is something that a government is supposed to do. And that thing is to ensure that the local people have a guaranteed role to play in the economy. You can talk about economic growth and say, numbers don't lie. But who is benefiting in the economy, in the economic growth? And what initiatives are being put to grow the economy? Because the truth of the matter is that this country is owned by foreigners. Now, are we here to work for the foreigners as Zambians? Are we just going to allow foreigners, to make profits and repatriate the profits? There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we need a revolution in the economy. We want to make sure that when you vote for Andyford Mayele Banda as president next year, we're going to revolutionize the economy. We're going to make sure that Zambia starts playing a major role. We're going to make sure that, like I mentioned earlier, that certain sectors of the economy are strictly run by Zambians. There will be no apologies for that. And some of these things can happen on day one of being sworn in. We can implement laws to make sure that, within 6 months, for example, from the time we're sworn in, there will be no foreign company that will be allowed to clean in this country. We can implement laws to say within 6 months, there will be no foreign company that will be allowed to sell second-hand vehicles in this country. We can implement laws to protect our people in many sectors. Within 6 months, things can start moving. So Mr. Lukuru Voice and Mr. Philemon, congratulations for that score as a UPND, but you seem to have not understood the assignment that the people of Zambia gave you. Thank you very much. Mr. Prince Martin, Umwana wa Msungu. What Prince Martin is basically saying is what we are saying. He's complaining that he it's like impia she some Zambia she that control over it. It's very true. And that's why we're talking about sovereignty. We are talking about independence. And this is the language that we as the people of Zambia must start speaking. We must own the economy. We must own the economy. We must play in the economy. We must be given a chance to play in the economy. We should not be given a chance. We must be guaranteed. Our leaders must guarantee us a role in the economy. That is what we need to do. That's what we need to say. That's what we need to preach. So Prince Martin nga tulifashiriya impia nga batupera ba America batu bati no bonfye ni so na so tulefa tushibonfye fe tulefa katwashipanga empia shabe sheso umuntu uri wonse ukupera empia ara kweba fya kushita fye na shene empia aza kuza kutia indrama na kupasa ushite so na so that's why wachilanda nokulanda wati kwali youth chairman umbi kuchechi kumienu the time you moved out I mean the other youth chairman went you were saying that pale fairly waingiramo na batempo kwe batimpia tukupere ushite so na so. The reason is because itamwa ikwatire mpia. Ngamali kwatire mpia shenu, you can decide what you want to do with that money. Same with the country. We have to make sure that we own the economy. When we start generating income, economy yesu tuleshta generate, then we can decide what to do with the money. We spoke about the budget. Budget 50% almost is funded by well-wishers. So mle mwana kwatira 50% ngaba become budget, it can help our country. It can't, because like you said, Prince Martin, baka tuwa wati okay impia sheture become budget mukashite so muka tuware kunoko. But the only way that we can control things is if we decide our own future. We become a sovereign state. And this brings me back to Mr. Chimpinde. Mr. Chimpinde, I think you missed the announcement that Mr. Andyford Mayele Banda wrote a book called Economic Systems Dismantling: Why Zambia Can Be the Model for African Transformation. Exactly what you're saying, Mr. Chimpinde, is in the book, starting with the structures that were put in place by the colonialists from the 1884 Berlin Conference, all the time that Africa was actually occupied forcefully, and they built Africa as a supply of raw materials and the consumer of finished goods. And those are the structures that you're talking about, Mr. Chimpinde, that we have not dismantled. Why my book is called Economic System Dismantling? Because these systems that were left by the colonialists are still here today. This idea that foreigners must own the economy, this is a colonial structure which we in Africa have failed to dismantle. When our leaders come into power, they are corrupted by the so-called investors, and they leave things as they are. Now, what we need is that now we're dealing with a different generation. This is a different generation. And we want to ask the people of Zambia to say, it's time for a new generation, to take over things. It's time for us to take over things so that we can do what Burkina Faso is doing. We have to dismantle the systems. We have to make sure that those colonial systems that were left behind by the colonialists are dismantled. We want the Zambians to have a role to play to actually benefit from the economy, for them to run the economy. What the colonialists did was that during their time, they didn't want Africans to be enlightened. They didn't want Africans to be educated. So even after time of independence, because very few Africans were educated and all those kind of things, they actually had the justification to continue running things as they were. Like you mentioned, they gave political independence, but the economic independence said, but you people are not educated. You people don't know how to do this. So let's continue running for you these things, and things will change as we go. And then as things were going, they started using tribal wars and all these things to destabilize Africa. And this is what has been happening. As a result, up to today, we have not gained economic independence. The idea of independence was not just political independence, it was political and economic independence. But we failed because of our greediness, because of the greediness of the leaders that we've elected, and the lack of understanding, Mr. Chimpinde, of many leaders, the lack of understanding of history, the lack of understanding of where we're coming from by many leaders. They have failed to actually deal with the issue they're supposed to deal with. We understand where we're coming from. We understand the history. I've written a book about this, the impact of colonial systems on our economy today. We're still under colonialism. Neo-colonialism, we can call it, but it's still colonialism. How can you have a country where 90% of the businesses are owned by foreigners? We can't allow that to go on. That's why there's poverty in this country. The president goes there and says, no, we've produced 3.7 million tons of whatever, well and good, but who is producing? Is it the small-scale farmers in the rural areas that are in abject poverty, where poverty levels at 78%? Definitely, I don't think those are, our relatives. Most of this is produced by the commercial farmers who are making a profit, and living large. So we need to dismantle the systems. We need to dismantle the systems and ensure that, if we're talking about 3.7 million tons being produced, it must be produced by rural farmers. Yes, we cannot say that the rural farmers didn't produce. A few of them produced, a few of them were paid, but how many of them? A number of them, let me not say a few, a number of them produced, and a number of them, but did they really make a profit that will sustain them for the whole year? Because these people only depend on rents to survive. So the poverty levels keep going. And we got a report to say some of these farmers have not even been paid by the FRA. But we know that the commercial farmers have already gotten their money. So we need a system that protects our people. To start with, let's protect our people. And we should not apologize for that. Just like Traore is not apologizing for what he's doing, once you put us in government, we shall not apologize. I can assure you on that one, we will not apologize in protecting our people to play a role in the economy. Mr. Tsala, why are there many political parties in one region and then... Well, I think for me, to be honest, I haven't really thought about it. It's a matter of choice. For me, it doesn't really matter. There can be 100 political parties, but you find that there are only 3 or 4 that are relevant. Or 5 at the most. So the people, they've got a democratic right to form political parties from every region, whether it's in Southern, other people who want, to form political parties, they can form political parties if they want. Whether it's Western, it's Northwestern, or it's in Central, whoever wants can form. At the end of the day, the relevant political parties, how many are they? You can count with your finger, on your either 2 fingers, with your hands. So it doesn't matter really. I've never really paid attention to that. There are many reasons. Maybe people have got their own intentions while they're forming political parties, but at the end of the day, the serious political parties are quite few. Mr. Andrew, well, the first point was you to correct the promises that were made on free education, but let's talk about the rule of law. Yes, I've not followed, because I'm not PF, so I've not really followed this, but I know of what's happening. I've read, that there's a constant judgment that is supposed to be implemented by the judiciary, and I wouldn't want to get into that because I don't want to get into trouble. But all I can say is that we need institutional reforms that guarantees independence of the judiciary, that guarantees independence of the police, that guarantees independence of other law enforcement agencies, the Drug Enforcement, the Anti-Corruption Commission. That cannot happen without reforms. And any politician who's going to tell you about reforms, and they might not understand what they're planning to do when they form government. Because no matter how good ideas that PAC has, for this country, without institutional reforms, we are not going to achieve those ideas, because other people will take advantage of the weaknesses in the systems, to do things from their head. So it's a disappointment that, the UPND, even if they claim to have brought reforms, those reforms are nowhere. The governance system is in shambles. Things are happening the way they were happening in previous governments. There's no independence of many institutions. Institutions are, are motivated by political, power or something like that. We need to understand this thing, Mr. Andrew, that the more we delay to bring in the right leadership, the more we're getting deeper and deeper in problems. One of the reasons why these problems are growing is because our population is growing. The needs of the country are growing as a result of the growing population. If you place an advert today for job, for any employment opportunity, you will see the number of young people that are going to apply. Like I said earlier, the UPND can pride itself, say, no, we've employed 4,000, 5,000, 2,000, 50,000. But what the country needs is 500,000 jobs every year. Today. So now, these things won't happen, by pronouncements of, certain things, we have achieved this, we achieved this. There has to be a revolution of how we're going to do things. There has to be a revolution in the economy. And that revolution involves Zambians being given the power to be, to play a role in the economy. Now, many people say, no, but Zambians, no. We're going to make mistakes. I can assure you that there'll be mistakes, there'll be disappointments, there'll be people that will fail to deliver, there'll be people that will do, but we have to start going, because that's the only way that we're going to survive. We have to protect our people. We have to protect our local businesses from foreign, competition. We have to get rid of certain foreign interests in in certain sectors completely, and leave those sectors for the local people. We should not apologize. 2026, we must have a revolution of how we're going to do things. We should not apologize. And what Traore is doing in Burkina Faso is what we must do here in Zambia and in many African countries. Thank you very much.
Your concluding remarks as we close.
You caught me off guard. I thought we were talking to more people. But anyway, I can conclude.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you to everyone that called in. Thank you to 5FM. And, thank you to all the listeners. As a concluding remark, I just want to emphasize that if we don't own the economy, we should forget about improving the economy. But this is not just going to be a slogan. We must own the economy. We must own the economy. No. The people that you are going to have to elect next year must understand deeply what they mean by saying we must own the economy. I'll go back to Mr. Chimpinde. The systems that Mr. Chimpinde is talking about, the systems that I wrote in my book, those are things that to dismantle. If we want to change this country, we need to dismantle the governance systems by bringing about reforms. We also need to dismantle the economic systems by ensuring that, we break, the colonial systems that are left behind. We can't have a country that is producing copper and we don't even have one player from Zambia, owning a big company. It's not possible, and it won't be possible under PAC. That we can assure you, and we look forward to discussing with you more as we move. Thank you very much. Have a good day. May God bless you. May God bless the Republic of Zambia. We thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. And that was our guest for today on our Thursday edition of The Burning Issue, Mr. Andyford Mayele Banda. He is the People's Alliance for Change, abbreviated as PAC, and he is the president of the party. And we appreciate you, our listener, for having followed and participated, for those that did so. And we sure hope that you will be with us again next week. But before that, let me sincerely appreciate our partner radio stations that carried this program live. We appreciate Katete FM, Spice FM, ZFM in Kapiri. We appreciate Platinum Radio in Ndola, iWave FM in Chingola. Appreciation also go to Tuta FM in Mansa and Muchinga Radio in Chinsali. We will certainly be back, God willing, next week for both Tuesday and Thursday editions of The Burning Issue. From all of us here is take care of yourselves and more so of each other. Bye-bye.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your participation. Democracy and freedom of expression is about tolerating the views that you don't like from someone you might not like.